powered by WIDP. And today we have Dr. John Worley, who is the creator of Worley's ID profile. We're very honored to be among the certified temperament experts, really one in about 10 to 12 people in the world that are doing this work. And it's just an honor to help bring this to the communities around us here in Tampa Bay. Who we are in this on this team and who's on the call with us today, and represented through the temperament community. My name is Connie Davis. I'm a love and authenticity practitioner. I certified as a temperament expert with Dr. John a couple of years ago, and I also do a lot of work in payments and banking. My business partner, Janine Casper, who also is on the team, is also a certified temperament expert. She's a strategist, a business process optimization and thought leader, and also in the banking and payments space. And then we're also joined by Dr. Cynthia Harper, who is another certified temperament expert and affiliate, a motivational speaker and female founder herself. And we're honored to have Dr. John Worley and his grandson here today with us to talk about the power of WIDP, why it's different, and go into the details of WIDP on a more granular level. The team that makes up the temperament team really is about infusing temperament and WIDP into the root of all of the post-traumatic growth programs that we bring into the community in our respective areas, whether that is in supporting underserved communities, vulnerable populations, or doing work with financial industry professionals to help heal money wounds and build financial empowerment programs. So we're very passionate about the work that we do, and we're excited to have you here with us. One thing before we dive into really what WIDP is talking about the why. And we know that as we look back over the last few years, things have elevated and escalated in importance post-COVID. COVID really put a mask on the world, and it really created a tremendous amount of anxiety, depression, and other mental health and emotional wellness challenges for many, many people in the community, regardless of income, regardless of demographics. And we just have a real challenge with growing mental health and improving that over time since COVID, because after being locked in, the mask of anxiety revealed itself, and we think it's really buried the human. So we're going to talk a little bit about the behavior and how it's separated from the character and the personality, but the heart of the human is really the temperament. And the temperament of the human is what Dr. John and all of us are doing, is to really help separate the difference between who we are as individuals and how we were designed to be at birth, and the personalities and or characteristics and behaviors that show up from our societal conditioning and or just exposures to different environments around us. What I want to do is I want to give Dr. John a chance to share why he created WIDP, but our systems and the work that Janine and I and Dr. Harper have been doing, we know that our systems have never really taught us how to be human, but WIDP does. The visual representation here of the young girl walking through a hall of mirrors into this doorway really is a visual metaphor for the journey with WIDP, is that it takes us back to the core of ourselves, the design and the programming of who we were intended to be when we were born. And how we do that is through a 60-question and answer exercise. It takes about 20 minutes, and it really unveils a remarkable individual that each of us are, to help us understand how we learn and socialize to build trust, helps us unlock our leadership abilities and decision-making superpowers, and then really end up with a harmonious relationship with ourselves that we can then extend into the community around us. And that's so important when it comes to building communities, building families, and strengthening the individual generations that are forming and growing up as the future populations and demographics of our communities. So as we talk about WIDP and the community, it's really important to understand the commitment of this team and the Temperament individuals, or the individuals that have certified on Temperament, I should say, and the commitment that we have to the communities, the individuals, and the parents and kids and organizations that can benefit from using this tool in their community. We believe in 5 succinct areas of improvement and growth. And that is 1, to empower individuals with self-awareness. 2, we can help organizations like yours enhance job readiness, career development, even humanizing resumes to help individuals stand out in a plethora of online applications that are growing through our systems, to elevate your organization's commitment to communities that you serve and create new programs that have even more impact than what you're already doing. We can also help you gain aggregated insights to programs and how the programs can be improved using WIDP insights. And then last but not least, we want to partner with you as a trusted ally, really focused on post-traumatic growth, no matter what that individual has been through, what walk of life they come from, what culture or background they come from. It's all about purpose and personal development for us. So WIDP is available. It's a HIPAA compliant product. It can be billed to, to third-party billers like healthcare through specific billing codes. It serves adults and youth ages 6 to 16. And then it's in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So it's a very versatile tool. And this is why we wanted to just gather with you, spend a little bit of time going through how it differentiates and stacks up against some of the other tools that you might be familiar with from your funding sources. So Dr. John, would you take us through a little bit of information and a deeper look into why WIDP is different, why you created it, and share a little bit about how it stands apart from the other tools that are out in the market?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Connie. One of the first questions you want to ask yourself is, what is your intake process within your organization? Because temperament gets to the core of who we are when we were designed to be, rather than fleeting programmed personalities. One of the things that I did as a clinician early in my career was I wanted to be the best clinician I could possibly be. So I went out and I became certified on the Myers-Briggs type indicator. I became certified on the DISC. I became certified on also the Taylor-Johnson and many other instruments, the Strongs. And as a result, this occurred over a period of, say, 10 years. And during that period of time, I would collect all these certifications only to bring them back to my clinic and apply them to find out that they didn't work. They were lacking in credibility and dependability and reliability, because I was dealing with personality, I was dealing with character, I was dealing with behavior with these individuals. And every time they come in for an appointment to see me, they would change because their personality, their behavior, or their character was changing because it was fluid. And I became frustrated, so I decided to design my own instrument that would determine their temperament, because temperament's determined at conception and it never changes. Whereas your character, your personality, and your behavior are changing constantly. And this is what's going on in corporate America, where these changes are taking place. And HR directors and managers and leaders are trying to work with individuals, but they're working with these social processes that the world of psychology has put in place, called behavior, personality, character, and temperament. They use all 4 of those as synonymous terms. So that's the world of psychology using them inappropriately, whereas WIDP, we pull temperament out and make it static, because it's determined at conception. And who you are as a person, your skin color, your hair color, your eyes, your stature, your bone structure, your complexion, everything is permanent, will never change. Whereas your character, which is determined by your environmental focus, by your culture, by your family of origin, by your siblings, by your neighbors, by the people you grow up with, determines your character. Then out of your character, you choose You determine what mask you're going to put on to determine your personality, and your personality can be different for each individual that you speak to. So you're putting on what you want them to see based upon how you were shaped and molded by your environment as you grew up. And so therefore you're putting on these different masks for each environment that you find yourself in, because you want the people to see what you want them to see. So they see only a mask. And that mask hit us big during COVID. And everybody was living in a mask. The entire world was masked. And we were hiding, and that created tremendous anxiety. But in your corporation, if you're using some type of instruments for your intake process, you're probably using a behavioral or a personality instrument or a character instrument that's going to give you false information and not going to give you the reliability, dependability you need on placing and dealing with individuals. WIDP does, because it's an instrument that looks at the internal design of the individual that was determined at conception. It's not dealing with all the programmed personalities in a life of an individual that are fleeting and non-reliable. That's the big difference between WIDP and those other instruments out there in the market. So when you compare them to WIDP, you will immediately see the difference between them, because WIDP is so valuable because it resonates immediately with an individual. So even as I'm speaking to you, as you're listening to this, you're going to sense a difference in what I'm saying that you do not get out of any of those other instruments, because what I'm saying is resonating with your true person. It's resonating with the truth, and the truth is what sets you free. And WIDP brings you the truth of who you are by your intrinsic design being identified by WIDP. That's the power of it. That's
So,
why WIDP is different.
So, Dr. John, thinking about some of the organizations that support second chance citizens or veterans, how are ways that those organizations can use WIDP for their environment to help them build up the individuals they're working with?
Well, everybody and everybody, as far as I'm concerned, on the globe needs to be identified by their temperament design. And once they understand the temperament design of the individual, depending upon your job position and skill set, whether you're an HR director or a leader or a manager or just a fellow employee, you learn to understand your temperament, and then you learn to respect the individual's temperaments that you're communicating with. That opens up a whole new door of communication in that relationship. And if you're a manager and you're speaking to your group, it opens up a whole new line of communications with your group, because you're speaking to them at an intellectual, not at an intellectual level. You're speaking to your group at an emotional level that's non-threatening, but it is empowering, because you're being transparent to them and you're touching them at the core of their existence. So it's applicable to any environment, regardless of what your position is, regardless of what your title is. We're not looking at those. We're looking at the value that you bring to your people because of your skill set that you've learned, because you understand temperament, which is speaking to the real person, not their character, not their personality, and not their behavior. You're speaking to the true design of the person. And that's where the synergy takes place. And that's where the connection takes place. And that's where growth immediately takes place in a relationship, whether you're speaking to an individual or a group.
Wonderful. So, as we think about heading into the level of discussion around WIDP, we have job changes, we have a work-life balance that people are trying to figure out, we have trying to understand the world post-COVID, we have students that are entering the adult world, and changes in generational demographics in the workplace with talent pools being affected. So it really sounds like maybe there's an opportunity to think about bringing a tool like this. So can you take us through more of the design of the profile itself and what you have created so that organizations looking at this tool can understand how this profile benefits their organization and the individuals that are part of it.
Yes. So just follow along. There are 6 components that are on each individual's profile. So if you've ever played chess or checkers, it's a game of numbers. So we're going to look at 6 different components of your temperament design. We're going to look at the areas. We're going to look at 3 areas of your social temperament, which includes your work environment and your social environment. We're going to look at your leadership temperament and how you function as a leader, whether you want to lead or be led, and how you function in that environment. And then thirdly, we're going to look at the section of your close, intimate relationships and how you function in close, intimate relationships. So we're going to look at those 3 areas. We're going to further divide those 3 areas into 2 other areas of how you demonstrate towards other people socially and in your work environment, how you demonstrate towards people in your leadership, whether you're a leader or you are a follower. Do you prefer to lead or to be led is going to be determined. And then in close, intimate relationships, we're going to determine how you demonstrate your relationship towards other people. We're also going to identify socially and in your work environment what you desire back from other people towards you socially and in your work environment. This is a facet that none of those other personality profiles out there on the market, none of them identify this facet of temperament or personality because it doesn't exist out there in the world, just in WIDP. We identify your desired behavior socially in your work environment. We identify your leadership and what you desire back from other individuals when they try to lead you, whether you want to be led or don't want to be led. And in close, intimate relationships, it identifies what you desire back from others in a close, intimate relationship. So let's go across the chart into social temperament. This individual's social score is a 2-7. So if you look at the graph, you can score from a 0 to a 9. A 0 is an introverted number. That's all it means. The numbers is 0 is introverted and 9 is extroverted. So on a continuum of 0 up to 9, that just means you go from introversion up to extroverted. So this individual on social orientation scored a 2-7. So the first number is their demonstrated score. The second number is always their desired score, what they desire back. So if an individual scored a 2-7 in social orientation, that means that they scored a 2. That means they're an introvert. They don't demonstrate very seldom because they're more on the analytical side. But what they desire back from you towards them is a 7. So they want you to demonstrate socially and in your work environment towards them. They're not going to demonstrate towards you very little, but they want you to demonstrate a lot back towards them. Now, you don't know that about them because you're not going to know that unless you have their temperament results. Because when you look at them, they're going to look like they don't want to be bothered, but they do want to be connected with you. You will not know that if you don't know their temperament. I know that because I see their temperament numbers. So I know what their demonstrated behavior is in their work environment. It's a 2. They don't demonstrate very little. And what they want back from you is a 7. And then we look at the leadership score, which is a 1-0. They do not want to demonstrate as a leader, and they do not want you leading them. And that's quite obvious. So if you try to lead someone that doesn't want to be led, you're going to get resistance from that individual. We know that now because we can see that in their temperament. And then when we go to close, intimate relationships, they're at 86. This individual demonstrates an 8, which is a compulsive number. So they're always demonstrating in close, intimate relationships. They're touchy, feely, They're always vocal and very, very relationship oriented, and they always want to be in the relationship and close and touchy and feeling. And they want the same thing back from you. They want a 6. So they're high on the scale when what they desire back from you towards them in that close, intimate relationship. So from that, you have the 6 different components of a single individual. So one of the foundational principles of understanding temperament is when you look at someone and you have these 6 numbers, you know who the individual is immediately because you know their temperament. That's powerful. And it's unfounded in any other instrument out there in the market does not do this. And then we have what we call the gap. And anybody that has numbers that fall into the brown areas is called the gap area, which stands, the gap is an acronym, it stands for great anxiety present. So anybody that has numbers that falls into the brown areas are going to be experiencing some anxiety in that area of their life, like the social orientation is the 2-7. That 2-7 falls in a brown area. That means that that individual is experiencing anxiety in that area. And that anxiety is going to cause confusion in that individual's relationships. And if they don't know that they fall in that brown area, they're going to be living in anxiety and not aware of it. And it's going to cause problems in all of their relationships, whether it's work environment or close intimate relationships or people trying to lead them. They're going to cause problems. So that's going to cause friction. But once you understand their temperament design, we can correlate and put the synergy in there and correct that, and it'll disappear in the work environment. Then we have the self-correcting profile that reveals the social needs and desires, which is very, very powerful. The perception of self and perception by other individuals, how they perceive you, and your intellectual orientation, your emotional orientation. There's a paragraph on that, your work orientation. It's a powerful, powerful information. And to do a decent debriefing on an individual's profile, it takes up, it can take up to between an hour, 1 to 3 hours, a good debriefing on an individual. So you've got a lot of information there when you're positioning somebody in an organization or developing a person for a future position. You can identify future leaders and managers, and it's just a powerful tool for developing teamwork, for identifying people that you want out on the front line, for marketing, for administration, for putting people cloistered away that have the analytical mindset, or the people that are flamboyant and colorful and want to be out front and speaking to people. You can do all of that by understanding their temperaments, and that's the power of it. And everybody is valuable. Nobody's excluded. There is no such thing as a bad temperament. Everybody has value that they bring to the table. Nobody's excluded. Everybody is included, because everybody that comes to the table and has their temperament done brings a value that nobody else in the world has but that individual, because they have their cumulative life experiences and education and skill sets and everything that they've been through in life that's valuable, and we can extract that out of them, because once they understand their temperament, they become so valuable to you and the organization, and you can capitalize on that. That's the value of temperament. So that's my little speech on that. Great slide. Any
Thank you.
questions?
No, I think one of the areas that, since we have been working so deeply with vulnerable populations and what we call systems impacted people that really are prevented or in a state of not really remembering who they are and their strengths, and they get stuck in, downward spirals of disbelief of who they were born to be and their purpose and temperament. These are examples of where we believe this could be a powerful mechanism or program to bring to organizations that are supporting and lifting up these individuals in the community. Do you have any specific examples or suggestions of ways for these organizations to implement WIDP?
Well, everybody out there has basically experienced some kind of a trauma in their lives, right? And a lot of people have experienced trauma to the point to where they have PTSD. And, there's a lot of violence out there in society and a lot of damage that has been done. And one of the things that I've recognized after 40 years is codependency is a big issue in society. And codependency is part of all of that. And it's like a bowl of spaghetti of brokenness in people's lives, is what it is. And you're trying to find out where is the core of that individual that we can reach and touch and bring back to have some kind of reality and confidence in themselves to where they see their own value rather than being totally broken all the time. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel for them? Yes, there is. But once they see the hope of the value of their temperament, and you can shine a light on who they are, and they begin to see that you see value in them, then that gives them hope. And that brings them new awareness in their understanding internally, because you're not dealing with their intellect, you're dealing with their emotional makeup, and you're touching their emotions. When you begin to speak temperament to them, I don't care what they've been through, because everybody's been through horrendous things. We don't need to look at that. We need to look at how do we heal the bombing. How do we put a bomb over that pain and bring them back to where they see hope and life ahead of them in the future, and give them something to stand on that they feel secure about, and that is their temperament. And when they see that, it will resonate with them, and that's what brings them up out of the valley of loss and despair, and brings them up and gives them the light at the end of the tunnel, and they begin to glow and take on new meaning in life. And that's what temperament does for them. I don't care what valley they're in. I don't care how deep their despair. Once they see who they are and they see that they're in there, they may be in a dark hole, but once you resonate and connect with them, that's a connecting point right there that gives them hope and value. And that's what you bring to them by just communicating to them temperament.
It's amazing. I know it's been a life transforming tool for myself, and certainly has created a whole catalyst of blooming in just me. And I know that there are other individuals on the team that have experienced the same. So thank you for giving us some of those insights, Dr. John. I want to talk to the group about the programs that we offer. Now, there are organizations as the individual temperament affiliates that have been certified by Dr. John himself, like myself and Janine and Dr. Harper, and even his grandson, Josh, who has grown up with temperament. But before we talk about these pilot groups, Josh, what I was hoping you could do is share how you've grown up with temperament and how it's set you apart as a teenager growing into your young adulthood. And as you face adulthood, how you feel like you have an advantage because of temperament, because this is an area that we believe to be very strong, is working with foster care youth, the youth that, are growing up in rough communities, facing adversities, facing challenges. But what advice or perspective do you bring as a person that's grown up with temperament?
Well, growing up with temperament, it empowers you to realize the intricacies of different interactions you have with people, and to understand, why someone might act the way they do towards you, or why you might have felt a certain way during a particular instance or interaction with somebody, and to be able to, internalize and dwell on those feelings and those thoughts, or act back towards somebody, either in a positive or negative manner, then you're able to, flesh out those feelings and those understandings previous to maybe an improper reaction to somebody. So it truly is empowering in terms of, understanding yourself. And then once you, work through that process, you can then better understand other people. And so the connection that you can have with people is that much more enriched and empowered because of it.
Thank you. And we wish you so much luck on the journey that you're on for all of your academic growth and your community growth. I think it's just a huge testament to what's possible when someone grows up with this tool versus, without it. And it's just, I wanted to make sure we called that out. So I do want to talk a little bit about the pilot groups that we are making available for communities around us. We have two real important areas. We have a Purpose and Temperament Institute that Dr. Cynthia Harper has created. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we have a program that is really meant to go down to a individual level on their own personal development path called the Love Star Studio. So we're going to talk about the opportunities that are available for post-traumatic growth and community programs, whether it's led by an organization, workshops that can be delivered through maybe family or couples, parents even, and then team building for organizations. So we'll talk first a little bit about Dr. Harper's Purpose and Temperament Institute. She has been on a path to bring temperament to the community in the Atlanta, Georgia area and really help individuals discover their authentic selves, really uncover the life purpose. She does a lot of work with underserved Black and Brown youth communities and communities in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and is on a mission to create a blueprint with them for a successful life. Her programs include elite coaching for organizations that want to come to the Institute, infuse and embody temperament as part of their human resources or people office programs, and then is creating a blueprint program that can be delivered to organizations working with the youth to equip them in those underserved communities with tools and insights to navigate life with confidence and purpose. So that is one example. So we are all moving in the proper direction to bring temperament into the community in ways that it fuses with the work that's already happening with the nonprofits like yourselves. The Love Star Studio is a little bit of a different flavor of how we've grounded WIDP into our efforts, that we are focused on helping individuals reconnect with their heart, which is really temperament and understanding their authentic intrinsic values, as Dr. John shared. But remember that value as we help them empower and embrace their creative spirit and build wealth for themselves. So this is great for entrepreneurs, for creators, for artists, for individuals that are not looking to fit into the mold of a 9-to-5 corporate job, or even inside of that with a side hustle, because we know that polyworking is definitely growing in popularity, or the gig economy. Our mission is really to support individuals heal their money wounds. There's a lot of anxiety that focuses around the decisions and the way that we feel about money, which, if you think about it, can be part of our own personal temperament and our relationship with ourselves. We want to help them remember that they are creators with the power to build wealth doing what they love. And that pulls out all of the strengths that we'll find in their WIDP temperament assessment. Our program is called the Rhythm of Trade. It's all about building upon the WIDP profile assessment to help individuals humanize their resume is one area we know we can help immediately, help them understand their relationship with money, which is powered by the concepts of the Center for Financial Social Work, and then reconnect their talents through reflective journaling exercises, workbooks, workshops, and then ways to build and create dream and vision boards. So this is a very individualized personal development path that we are creating through the Love Star Studio network. As we wrap up, Dr. John, do you have any other thoughts as far as what organizations can do to pull temperament into their environments, the ways that they can start out? We certainly are working with a few organizations here in Florida to experiment with the Rhythm of Trade program. We know Dr. Harper is doing some amazing things with her Purpose and Temperament Institute, but we are all available to help grow the environment and the population of temperament affiliates.
Your nonprofits are a big audience to clinicians. Any state licensed clinician can use the Class C WID profiles, third-party billing. It's a powerful instrument for that, because if you're a clinician, have state license, and your state license determines your level of reimbursement whenever you file for an insurance claim. So WIDP, you pay X amount of dollars for a profile, and then you submit that for a claim for your client, and your licensure level determines what you get for reimbursement. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to make $40 or $50 on each profile that you use in your practice. So it's a win-win situation for all state licensed clinicians. Or if you want to be certified WIDP, we can certify you. But you don't have to be certified to use the profile system if you're licensed. And another one is church and ministries. I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of churches and ministries with WIDP, and they absolutely love it because it allows them to develop their leadership. And they absolutely love it. I could tell you stories after stories of huge, huge, huge churches. One of them had 26 elders in it that I did, and it had 100 and some deacons. It was a huge church. Anyway, I've done a lot of those. And so those are very, very, very promising environments to jump into with WIDP.
Those are great examples. Thank you. And Janine, thank you for being with us as well. Do you have other ideas or just suggestions for ways that we can bring WIDP into the mainstream community? You're on mute.
Thank you. When we do talk about the opportunity of WIDP and the impact that we can make in our communities, I do encourage those organizations that are working with families and individuals who don't necessarily fall into that, I'm going to say, box or world of trauma, or would say that they've been through trauma, but it is an opportunity for families who have challenges and couples with marriage, developmental issues that they want to work on, that WIDP is a great way to work with their clinician practitioner or the volunteer social worker that they're interacting with. So I believe that it is a very powerful tool to use, not only for personal development, but the development of those very special relationships that we have. And I also, coming from the banking industry, strongly believe that this is the foundation for us to be able to truly engage our financial institutions in a different way, to be able to help them individually understand their frontline personnel, whether it's within a physical branch or whether it's within a call center, and being able to develop, coach, and counsel their staff so that they can understand who they are. They'll end up with a much happier worker, so to speak, or employee that will flourish and grow. But it is a great foundation to build on for those institutions that want to embrace the unbanked, underbanked, and underserved market, because with the compassion and understanding of one's own self, to the degree that you do with WIDP, it's a phenomenal way to be able to start to extend that to the community and the way that we serve individuals at the front line.
Absolutely. I think that as we think about temperament with the relationship of money, there's nothing more empowering than having someone that understands you and or can understand how our trust is built up around money when they're coming into an institution. Just taking that into consideration, that those individuals are dealing with different trust issues around their money, who they trust with their money, and those decisions that they make with their money can go a long way in understanding why they manage their accounts. So I think that that's a really important example, Janine, that you brought up. So I do appreciate the time that everybody has spent with us this morning, learning a little bit more about WIDP, why it's different, why we are all very passionate about bringing temperament to the world, especially post-COVID, to help lift up communities and support some of the growth programs that are needed to reconnect people with their communities and themselves. And if there are no other questions, we can wrap up today. Is there anything else anybody else would like to say?
I just wanted to say that I have created 6 different brochures. I don't know whether you can see them or not. But they are, one is for corporations, one is for individuals, it's personal, one is for clinicians, one is for families, applicable to families, and one is for ministry, and one is for sports psychologists. These are all color coded, all different colors, and they have been invaluable to presenting what's the value and what WIDP can do to all of these 6 different audiences. So I just wanted to put that out there because it is powerful in every audience. You can tailor make WIDP to fit any audience, and it will empower that audience. I don't care whether it's 1 or 100 people, it'll empower them once they see the power behind WIDP and its functionality. Thank you.
Wonderful.